What's up, my G? What's cooking?
I'm cooked.
No cap. You doing this again or not?
Bro, I'm pulling up again. No question.
Say let's bring the whole squad.
The homies are coming. We go full send next time.
That's it. That's the pressure room. See you on the other side, G.
We stayed locked in. No days off.
Let's go.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Welcome to the pressure room today.
Thank you.
So the idea is by the time we get through to the end of the podcast, they will realize that staying active shape the person you are. We will start with a very casual walk on the treadmill. The incline you decide, the weight I decide, and we will walk to 500 meters and we'll have a chat about life.
Sure.
Let's go. I want to ask you something right at the start. So for those of you who are watching us, listening to us, NH stopped the aging clock when he turned 57. He hasn't aged a day older, and mashallah, this is 43 more years to go before he calls it like, I'm going to retire. But those of you who don't believe that this man walks the talk, I'm going to share a clip of him running the Devil Circuit in Panvel 10 years ago, where he's actually climbing a rope, and he doesn't remember this. I reminded him this morning. He slips, falls all the way back into water, but he doesn't quit. And he keeps at it till he does. I think you did 7 or out of the 15 obstacles. And I'm sharing the clip right now. Please watch it, comment, and be inspired. So, Anish, are you going to run the Devil Circuit? Which is coming up this year in 2026.
I'm going to try it, of course.
Yeah.
And why not?
Absolutely. I'm not taking no for an answer. This is what I love about this amazing individual, a complete icon, tycoon, someone who walks the talk. But we got to now increase the incline. Increase the incline. Yeah. So to whatever you're comfortable with. A couple of questions that I have for you.
Sure.
What does work-life balance mean to you?
It's very simple, actually. I do everything which I love to do. So for me, work is life. So I enjoy going to work as much as anybody else likes to go for a holiday.
Right.
So for me, actually, the distinction actually is not there. And I enjoy going to my work every day because every day is a delight. So that's my work life. But to add on to what you say, I love playing with my grandchildren. So that's life. I love to party. That's life. I love to meet people. I love to teach and interact with students, which I do once a fortnight.
Okay.
So all that is life too, but
Right.
work is also life.
I think one of the things I completely agree with you is because when I walked into your office 10 years ago, most people did not know what the Devil Circuit was all about. You were, I think, one of the coolest, most sporting partners I've ever come across. And I said, I'm not just going to be content with you giving me the land bank, you have to run. And you said to me at that time, I don't know if you remember, you said, if you hit 2,000 and more people, I'm coming. And I said, don't come to flag off, come to participate. And you lived up to your statement. I mean, clearly
In my mind, I wasn't too sure that you'd get 2,000, so I thought maybe I would be dropping it off of the whole thing.
No.
But you did it, and I love to join.
No, and I'm waiting to
And
host
no
it.
regrets.
No regrets. Amazing. And thank you so much because since then, we've gone on to complete 80 editions.
Wow.
This year, 54,000 people. But
Unbelievable.
super excited about India, super excited about our community. One question I have, like I said, you said, about work-life balance, just to the same question. Has it changed since you started?
Actually, the story is slightly different. I belong to Campion School. So one day when I was about 40-something, late 40s, I went to school for old boys get together. No, old boys race. They called me for the sports and they invited us to do a race. And that was for all the old boys of Campion.
Right.
And I think it was some 50 meters.
50 meters.
50 meters.
Right.
And I ran that.
Right.
And at age 40 something, I was panting for 50 meters. And I suddenly realized that
Right.
crazy, I mean, I think I'm going to die before I'm 50. That was the kind of thing in my mind. And that was a bit of a shock for me. From then onwards, I committed to myself that I'm going to get back to fitness a little bit. It was very tough, a very uphill task. But ultimately, I think got back to some exercising and then joined a gym and slowly but surely got back into the fitness mode. But I think it was quite late in the day that I really got back to it.
But as long as one sets their mind on something
Yeah.
and believes, and there's discipline, I think anything is possible, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So I read somewhere that for you it's about yoga in the morning, or going to the gym, doing weights, or even going for a run. Do you think it's the variety in the workouts that keeps you excited and engaged?
I think I love it. I mean, I would get bored if I did the same thing all the time.
Right.
So thrice a week it's gymming,
Right.
muscle weight training, 2 days a little cardio,
Right.
2 days in the evening I do yoga,
Right.
and once a fortnight or once a week I try, but it's really once a fortnight I play squash.
So, I love this about squash players, right? People say, I want to play squash to get fit. According to me, squash is for the fit.
Actually, there's a story to that.
Right.
What happened is that I went to Bay Club to play pickleball with my grandson.
Right.
And I played 1 day, 2 days, and then he went back to Dubai. And the third time I went to the club, the booking was not there.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what to do. So I walked around and I saw the squash court empty.
Right.
I got into squash. And after 30 years, I just started squash again.
Amazing.
But it's fun.
Want to ask you, when you were growing up, what was life around fitness and sport? And
Well, I think the first part of my life, I was into swimming and squash in the beginning in school and college. But then once I got into the world of business,
Right.
and in those days, fitness was not really the in thing. So I really dropped off of it. And the focus on my work was humongous. 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day I was working. So I think I just slipped out of it.
Right.
But then at some point of time, I realized that if I wanted to work, I had to become fit
Right.
back again. Took some time, but I think I managed.
I mean, when you were younger in school and college, etc., like you said, sport didn't come naturally to be. It was not top of mind, no priority, right?
No.
But do you think when you got back into playing sport is because of your days from school?
Absolutely. I think my dad encouraged me to do squash and swimming in the younger days in school. And I think that stayed with me in terms of it. And I knew what fitness was at that time,
Right.
though it was not conscious about it.
Right.
But I think when I lost my health or fitness, I think that's the time I suddenly realized that we needed to do something about it.
So you've got to say thank you, Campion School, for calling NH for that old boys get together, making him run the 50 meters so that he got the self-realization.
Yeah.
I got to reverse the clock.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're at 480 meters. We're nearly there. So this is going to be the first challenge of the day that we will complete. One question I was around food. Did you measure your micros and macros and calorie and?
No, that's my weak spot.
Right.
Actually, food is my weak spot and still is. I think
Right.
I eat too much
Right.
and I need to do it, but I try to compensate it by doing my exercises and fitness part of it. I think I have to improve.
So what's the one why? So we've hit the first goal, by the way. The first challenge is done. And a super job. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. So second challenge. We are going to cycle to a kilometer. And we're going to basically make it a little fun by giving you 2 dumbbells, whatever weight you want. Which one should I give you? 2 kilos?
4.
Yeah. Yasha, can you help? I'll also take 2. Any? Yeah, I mean,
Well, you should take.
yeah, give me something heavier. Yeah, otherwise, I'll get trolled on this. Yeah.
I'm giving you 5.
Okay. Thank you. You're looking at now India today in sport, and it's amazing to look at, for example, the recent news around IPL teams with Rajasthan Royals and RCB being sold for 16,000 crores. And all of this is a spectator sport. I believe that there is an opportunity in participative sport as well, because when you look at the younger India, the Gen Zs and the millennials, they are happy cheering for Virat and Rohit, but they want to have their moment of crossing a finish line. So do you see that rub-off happening?
It's very simple. Cricket is at the heart of the people. So you can't compare cricket with any other game.
Right.
Originally we talked hockey of being our national
sport.
sport, and no way that it reached that level at any point of time. So you really can't know where the heart is. So, and the money comes behind that, where the people are. So yes, any other sport could do it, but somebody has to take the baton and take it forward. So, a lot of people are now doing it. The Jindals, for instance, put up that entire sports arenas to take up that thing, and that's a fantastic thing which they have done. I think we need to do a lot more in that area. And yes, it'll take time. We'll get that.
Because, I look at you as someone who has a crystal ball, and you do things before others. When you looked at this township here, sitting in Powai, most people were content with making buildings, but you decided you'll make a township. That requires a lot of courage, and you have to think differently. And from then on, you've made multiple townships all over the country, did very, very well. Now you're looking at data centers or before others. So that's why I thought, I should ask you this question about sport, because, if you look into that crystal ball that you have, what's that one sport you think that could perhaps come close to cricket?
I think today the pickleball seems to be the in thing. And since the interest of people in pickleball is huge, I think it's there. But if you ask me personally, on a personal level, I think football is the sport that can really take the lead. Because I think it's a people's game, and you can play it anywhere in the country.
Right.
So you can get somebody from the remotest village in India to become the champion sportsman in the country. And that's what you need. You don't need any infrastructure to play football. And I think that's a sport to go for.
Who are you rooting for in the World Cup?
Except India, who else can I?
Well, India's not there, so so now since
I know, but that's missing now.
Yeah, so. But are you someone who goes more South American or European?
I think really it's open game, and I'm not really looking at any one of them in that sense of the term. I'm very happy to just watch the games.
Are you looking at making a visit to the US to watch, or?
Not really. No.
Given the current situation with what's happening?
No, I think I'll let Trump do that.
Well, I hope it's basically a successful World Cup, because that's the sport I love, by the way. I play football every Sunday. It's I love it, and I hope what you're saying comes true. So, Manish was telling me earlier over lunch that your excitement level has gone back to what it was when you discovered, Powai.
Absolutely.
And but my question to you is, how do you find such large tracts of land? This is an art in itself, right?
Well, actually, I always go for the lands which nobody wants. So when I took Powai, at that time, nobody wanted Powai.
Right.
When I took Godbandar Road, there was no other builder there.
Right.
Now there are only 42 of them.
Right.
When I went to Panvel, I was the only one. Now there are 6 big developers with more than 100 acres.
Wow.
So, and so on and so forth. So I usually go to a place which ultimately we make into a destination.
So is it a gut feel for you, or it's like you do your own sort of calculations and are able to look at things differently than other people?
No, I think each piece of land has an opportunity, and you got to actually mold that into
Right.
what you add. So it's like a person who's doing a painting. The canvas is different. The canvas in Alibag is different than Powai. So you make a different painting, or you make a different township, or a different thought process. So I don't think if I was in, like for instance, we went to Oregon in Chennai. The township is very different than what we have done here.
Right.
So there are lots of sports over there.
Oh, by the way, we've hosted the Devil Circuit at in Chennai at Oregodum
Absolutely.
twice.
Yeah.
Once the night before there was a storm, and it rained like it had never rained before, but yet people came and we pulled off an amazing edition because of your support at that time.
And Hiranandani parks didn't get flooded.
Yes, they didn't get flooded. Yeah, so I mean, it's, I guess, if you want to give some advice to a 25-year-old who's looking at building a business, how important is it for him to think differently?
Well, first of all, he has to learn the domain. So if you want to do sports, you need to know the basics of
Right.
it. And once you've done the basics, then you can learn to be offbeat and think and be innovative in your game. But until you're not perfected at your basics, it doesn't work. So for example, irrespective of what type of buildings you make, the building should be structurally sound, not leaking, provide for all the amenities that are there, which you as for living your life will be there. Then you get into the innovative mode. But if your basics are not good, then innovation is...
I love one thing about your building, that they're evergreen in terms of design. I mean, you know from afar that, okay, that's a Hiranandani construction. Was that always the, conscious decision to keep it consistent in terms of look?
So the idea of the type of architecture we chose is that it's ageless. So I'll tell you a joke.
Yeah.
A friend of ours landed up from abroad, and he came to Powai, and he looked at a building and he says, "I love this new building of yours." I said, "Which one?" So he pointed it out, and I said, "Oh, this is 21 years old." So
He missed it.
he missed it by a long shot.
Right.
So the idea being the type of design we did is actually ageless.
Right.
And that's the type of architecture we chose to be our kind of front piece.
All right.
And it works.
It looks amazing, by the way. It looks very majestic. I mean, wherever you look at it, I've seen your developments in Chennai, in Mumbai, in Panvel. It is absolutely fantastic. And I think once you come in, you could be anywhere. In any city, you won't be able to know the difference unless you go outside the township. One last question before we hit the 3-kilometer mark, by the way, we've done exceedingly well, is around, again, what does the fridge at home look like?
Oh, you'll be surprised. I've never actually been fastidious about food. So whatever my wife has cooked, I've eaten.
Right.
So I don't really order food in the house. I'm not allowed to.
Okay.
So in all my life, she kind of keeps the reins on. And that's probably one of the clues to manage proper fitness. But I cheat when I go out.
When are you going out next? What's on the list?
Well, I love eating food, and I mean all sorts of food, and I'm not really worried about the type of culinary. I like all of it.
Right.
And I enjoy Indian, Italian, Thai, you name it, Chinese. It's all there.
Excellent. So now, when you wake up, you're obviously super successful. You're on the Forbes list, etc. When you wake up in the morning, who's making your cup of coffee? Are you making your own cup of coffee yourself? Are you walking across and making it yourself, or is someone else doing it for you?
So till my father was there, which is about 12 years ago, between the two of us, one would make tea for the other.
Oh,
So either he would get up earlier and I would make the tea, or he would get up earlier and he would make the tea for both of us. But since he's not been there, I've had a man Friday who does the tea for me.
right.
So earlier it was like we could have somebody else make tea for each other. So that was the sentimental which I carried on with my father all his life.
Right.
And we had a great morning every morning at around 6-ish when we woke up.
Right.
And we had tea together.
And what is the conversation with your dad in the morning?
Anything, but nobody else was supposed to hear it.
Right.
And if anybody came into the room, he was like looked down upon.
So,
So mornings were with dad in the beginning. And then over a period of time, once you finish the tea, then you're on your own.
Right.
So he did his own things, I did my own things.
which is very, I mean, that's priceless, those priceless moments, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So NH, well done on hitting the milestone. We've done 3.25 kilometers, by the way. This is, he's exceeded it by a mile.
Thank you.
One thing I have read about you that you've spoken across multiple podcasts is be 1% better every day. When you're looking at yourself, introspect versus compare yourself to others, and be happy at what you do. I mean, these are golden pieces of advice, by the way, to all those listening. I want to ask you this piece of advice that you've given to others. This is something that came from your dad, your mom, or this is from your own experience? I mean,
This is from my own experience, actually. Over a period of time, I've connected a lot with young people. And everybody wanted to ask me what's my secret of being successful. And I really didn't know what it was.
Right.
So I had to do an introspection about myself, and really think what really works for me and what would work for somebody else who asked me that question of how to be successful. And then I realized that in our country and everywhere in the world, it's the most ordinary people who ultimately become super successful or different. And it was kind of a thoughtful research in that direction that led me to this conclusion about improving myself 1% every day. And I started sharing this idea, and now it's crystallized. And we've come to that conclusion. I have come to that conclusion along with a lot of young people that you can easily improve yourself 1%.
yeah.
Doing anything, cycling, riding, speaking, studying, you can always improve. And you can do that 1% improvement every single day.
Yeah.
So in a year, you can improve yourself 365%.
Wow, you're a different person at the end
You're a
of each
different
year,
person at the end of the year. And in 10 years, they calculate it should be 3,625. But if you compound it, then it's more than 25,000.
So if I ask you one last question before the next challenge, NH at 20 and NH at 57, which is where he is today, by the way. What's the difference? What's the one thing that you're very, very proud about?
I think I didn't have a clear-cut goal of what I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. At that time, I think the idea was just to be successful at what you did. Initially, it was I'd set up a textile unit and then a little bit into real estate. Failed in both. So, so I had to sell one, didn't know which one to sell, finally sold the textile unit and then got into real estate. And I realized I just had to be successful. How could I show to anybody in the world and my father that I'm unsuccessful, So I think that was at the bottom of my mind in those days. And obviously the idea was to make money. But over a period of time, that's changed tremendously. And changed tremendously in the sense that along with the idea that you have to make money, obviously if you're doing the business of business, but I also realized that in order to become from ordinary to good, good to better, better to best, best to great, it was not that you could do it one morning. You have to have the discipline of improving yourself in every single day that you do, whatever you want to do or whatever you're passionate about.
Right.
And when you're passionate about something, it's so easy to improve. But if you're not passionate about what you want to do, or you don't have any goal in mind, that you don't want to do anything and you just want to slumber it, then of course life is just to live by and forget
by
about
and
it.
tick in the box.
Yeah. But I think that's where I came to this conclusion that one could be ordinary today but great tomorrow.
Has to have belief and discipline and patience. This is your second workout of the day. Definitely ice cream post the meal. I have to say, by the way, it's not a plug-in. I don't know these people, but the ice cream in Mumbai, Naturals, I love this coffee flavor. I will finish half a bucket. I can't stop. I mean, so
Doesn't look it. You're too fit.
if then I have to come back and do an insane workout the next day.
You'll have to prove it.
Individuals out there who are looking for inspiration, you don't have to look anywhere any further. This amazing individual, I asked him for the third challenge of the day. I said either we do push-ups or we do a plank. And you know what he says? Let's do both. So Habibi, look, I will show you what strong looks like. NH, let's do this. So we're going to do 5 push-ups and then we're going to do a plank for 45 seconds. So NH, hang on, we'll do one for every township. How many townships are there?
5.
5. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. First one. Second. Third. Fourth. Fifth. And I'll do 5 for your next 5. 6, 7. I'll do the devil circuit and all those 5. This is what strong looks like, guys. NH. Now we're going to do a plank for 45 seconds. But before we get there, if I were to ask you, when you were growing up in the domain of business, it's so easy today to open YouTube and look at inspiration and you find people like yourselves, other people, who've built businesses, Nitin Kamath and many others, who walk the talk, and you listen to them and you feel inspired. But when you were growing up or I was growing up, it wasn't so easy. But you must have had a role model that you looked at and said, I need to be like this individual. Who was that one person? Or
It wasn't one person.
Right.
Every few years, I would choose somebody else.
Right.
So when I started real estate, it was Dr. Maker making Nariman Point buildings.
Okay, yeah.
Then it was Mr. Raheja doing his townships. Then what Mr. Lokhandwala. Then it was Dubai.
Right.
Then it was Singapore. Then it was China. So it was like a moving thing.
Right.
And every few years you picked up a new mentor and the person didn't know that he or she was your mentor.
Right.
So you kept on learning from various people about all that.
But
So not one single person. At a time, yes, a person or a project or something like that was my mentor.
But today, for example, a lot of youngsters look up to you. They ask you for advice. You're very accessible. You reply to their queries. You guide them. If you had that, you think outcomes would have been far better?
Of course.
Yeah.
Today it's so easy to get information about how you can be better. And there are lots of support people like this gym, an idea who are dietitians, and you can go to the net and be able to do that. We didn't have all that. So it was far more difficult to become healthy or correct or improve yourself in those days and time rather than today. But I guess, every time is the same. There will be some people who will use this facility to be much better and others who will use the facility to be just okay.
Yeah.
So it's really up to every individual.
The hunger. Ignite the hunger, man. Ignite the fire. All right, the last challenge before we move to our Pressure Room podcast. This is, by the way, the fun part. Hope you guys are enjoying this. This is a 45 seconds. Someone time it. Yeah. Started. You keep giving us the count for 5 seconds and then 10 seconds, and tell us why the weather in Mumbai is so hot today.
10 seconds.
Why is it so hot in Mumbai today? Yeah, sure.
Some like it hot.
20 seconds.
Arey wow, only 25 to go. We get to 45 and Manish does 5 burpees. Only 15 seconds. Manish, get ready, Habibi. 9, 8, 7, 6. You got this entire cheering squad. Come on. Make some noise. Yes. 1. Yes.
15 more.
5 more. 15
15
more.
more.
15 more. Again, cheering squad. Come on. Make some noise. Yeah. I told you guys to have a light lunch. 8. Come on. 4, 3, 2. Wow. Super. Amazing. Super. That was the first part. Stay tuned. We got more fun stuff coming up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, comment, like, share, and tell us why you love this man as much as we love him. See you in the next part.
Thank you.
A 76 years young trailblazer who still believes that his best work is ahead of him. Okay? A 76 years young. नहीं यार क्यों चिल्ला रहा हूँ? If you're looking at if you're looking at ये सब जा रहा है ना behind the scenes. वो maybe ये वायरल होगा. Okay, that's it behind the scenes.